Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, and I am back for a little different kind of video today. Really don't do these very often, but earlier this week, a little update for the Toby Accessibility Mod came out, and really looking forward to that mod, and it is great. Version 6.0 is available now. And this is a mod that makes the Doom games, Doom and Doom 2 levels, accessible to blind players. And today we are actually talking to the mod developer, MrAlanD1. How's it going, man?
Greetings. Pleasure to be here.
All right. So, yeah, just diving right into it here. But give us a little bit of background. How your gaming background? How did you get into gaming and modding and all that fun stuff?
Well, first off, with the gaming and all, I've always been a fan of Doom, and it's been my favorite game for a very long time. Almost 30 years. My father introduced it to me back when I was just a kid. And that's before the ESRB rating system, of course.
Oh, of course.
Um, yeah.
I played it when
But
I was like
yeah,
11, 12 years old too. It's awesome.
yeah. So my father was the one who introduced me to gaming in general because he actually worked at a place that distributed arcade machines. So that was my first dive into games in general. So with other games that I play, I also like Unreal. I'm also a big fan of it, and I also I dove into other FPS games like Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, Blood, Heretic, Hexen,
Oh yeah.
a little bit, yeah, even, of course, it's been a while since I've played this, but Half-Life is one of them too. And even Ion Fury, that one is pretty good as well. And a handful of others, but those are the ones that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, a lot of the classic Doom engine games, like you said, Heretic, Hexen, the Build engine games. Even like I played a lot of Quake, and I love the resurgence of the what they call retro or boomer shooters as they call them, Ion Fury, Dusk, Medieval, and even what I find fascinating is just the amount that the original Doom is still being supported, not just like the Toby Accessibility Mod, but like you have full games that are being developed in the GZ Doom engine, like Sulaco and it just looks incredible. And just other things. So it's just, yeah, it's never been a better time to be into these types of shooters.
Yeah, of course, I was just as surprised when I started seeing games like Sulaco or even Supplies or even Heat On,
Yeah.
which were using the GZ Doom essentially. And I was thinking, how are they able to sell this? Last I checked, GZ Doom can't be used for commercial purposes, but I guess now it's got cleared to do so. So,
Yeah, and we'll definitely get
uh,
into that more later when we talk more about the mod because yeah, I literally just asked you about that the other day, especially with how polished version 6.0 feels. Like it feels like it's almost like like just a game that you can go out and buy. And so, with the feature completeness of it and everything, it just feels fun. It feels good to play. And yeah, just being able to even have that as like a standalone thing would be just a cool thing to do. But yeah,
yeah,
how did you get into like the whole Doom modding thing?
yeah. I started making Doom mods back in July of 2004, and I was in high school at that time. Um, so when I made my very first Doom level, it it didn't go so well. There was a lot of problems with it. So
Fair.
yeah, there's a whole bunch of line defs that were supposed to be solid yet wound up being walk-throughable. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
even a word there. Sorry,
Yeah, no,
that you're
that's
able to
totally
walk
get
through
it.
it into cyberspace.
Yeah, I
And
tried messing with the Doom editor way back in the day, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. It was just like, this is really, really cool, but I couldn't really make heads or tails of it. So I'm like, well, just leave that to the experts, and I'll just have gazillions of levels to play.
Yeah, I mean, with Doom Builder, it makes Doom editing so much more easier.
I'll
I
have to
mean,
check
you
into
can
that.
build a lot of great levels. Yeah, Doom Builder is so easy to use, and that's really what I started with, that particular program. And when you learn a little bit more about it, when you practice a little bit more, you start to get the hang of it, and then you go from there. And that's really how I went about making Doom levels. Is I just kept practicing, and they got better and better over time. And then eventually, I started releasing some of the stuff, not so much level related, but I first released a WAD called, and it was a weapon WAD. It was called Alando Guns, and the community had a love-hate relationship with it, in all honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And its sequel didn't do any better, unfortunately.
Huh.
But yeah, but when I actually got to making Temple of the Lizard Men, that's when things started improving. And when I created Temple of Lizard Men 2, um, a gentleman named Megadoomer was able to hop on board to help me with the beta testing, and he really coached me through everything with level design. And honestly, I can't thank him enough for it. And I always credit him in every release that I had
Mm-hmm.
because I've learned so much from him, and the rest is history. I mean, he really did help me a lot. And if he is watching, I just want to say thank you to him again. You know,
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, so I'm trying to even remember when I originally saw it was several years ago. I remember seeing the original Toby video where they were kind of covering, featuring Toby Ott and how he was really interested in playing Doom. And then I saw that this Toby Accessibility Mod thing was happening. And I was just so curious because I want to see in like the early 2000s or so, there was this other, like, audio games have been a thing for a while, and there was, I forget who made it, but there was another person who kind of made their own take on accessible Doom. They called it Shades of Doom. And I played it a little bit back in the day, and it was cool. But I'm like, yeah, but it's like, as someone who has actually played Doom, I'm like, it's just not quite Doom. It's not Doom, man.
yeah.
And so, how did you get it? How did you first kind of have the idea for the Toby Accessibility Mod and think, I wonder if we can make this accessible to blind people?
Well, the Toby Accessibility Mod really all just started after Toby reached out to me. And I actually do have the original email with me. Um,
Oh,
and he
wow.
sent it back. Yeah, he sent it to me back in 2017, May of 2017. And would it be all right if I read the
Sure.
email, Jesse?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, so Toby's email to me is this. Hi, my name is Toby Ott, and I am totally blind. I've been blind since birth, and I love video games. I love playing Doom, and over the last 10 years, I have had great experiences with Ultimate Doom, Doom 2, and Final Doom. I've completed a number of levels. I am now into playing WADs for Doom 2, and I've played your amazing WAD the Doom Tribute Project, which I really enjoyed, as well as Temple of the Lizardmen. I like the Doom Tribute Project because you added loads of new monsters, which made the WAD really interesting. Have you done any other WADs? If so, I would love to play them. I do use cheats because I am unable to find all the health, armor, and keys that you need to finish the maps. I use God mode, all weapons, no clipping, and level select because I'm unable to complete all maps. The reason why I'm emailing you is because I was wondering if you could send me the map list for your new WAD Temple of Lizardmen 4, please. I also want to make sure that the WAD will work okay with ZDoom 2.8.1. Actually, excuse me, 2.8.0. I also wanted to let you know about a documentary that was made about me a few months ago by a guy called Burke. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Burke's last name correctly, so bear with me. I don't know if it's Ickle or Isel.
Sure.
So if Burke is watching, I do apologize if I mispronounced it. Burke is a YouTuber who does video game walkthroughs, and I contacted him to say about how much I enjoy his walkthroughs. I also told him that I was a blind video gamer, and he thought that it would be a great idea to shoot a short documentary about my life and my gaming experience. I also explained about how game companies can make their video games more blind friendly by adding audio description and cutscenes and audio navigation so that I can walk around an area in a video game without help from a sighted person. If you want to search, excuse me, if you want to watch it, search StansGeo8 on YouTube and look for a video that's called Gaming Through New Eyes. Burke entered the documentary into several film festivals and it has won several awards. Burke has got a page on IMDb. You are welcome to share the documentary on all your social media channels and on the Doomworld forums. Burke and I are hoping that the documentary will be seen by game directors and voice actors so that blind people can access the same video games as their sighted peers and be able to play them independently. I look forward to hearing from you. Kind regards, Toby.
That's
And
awesome.
that was the beginning.
There you go. No, because that's quite the beginning. Because yeah, I remember watching that gaming through new eyes, and then I can't remember. I don't even remember how I found out about the mod, and just out of the blue one day I decided to send you an email. Must have been around 2018, 2019, maybe?
It was 2019. I actually have
Okay.
that email here too.
Oh wow. Okay, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, here it is. Yeah, it was March 26th of 2019.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that was really right around the time game accessibility was starting to take off. I would say around 2015, and I've had my YouTube channel since 2012, and I was doing a lot of videos. It was the channel wasn't really catching on all that much, but I started covering like iOS stuff, and then as more mainstream games started adding accessibility, things started to taking off, and so that was right around the time where I got to go down to the Game Accessibility Conference for the first time, and 2019 was just was an amazing year. And when I um, when I found out about the Toby Accessibility Mod, I just got so excited because I had been like Doom is my favorite game of all time as well, and I'm thinking, God, even almost 30 years later, 25, 30 years later, now that a whole new group of people can potentially be able to play it. And um, at the time, I also had a girlfriend who was totally blind, and she was like, she really just got a kick out of Doom and Left 4 Dead and stuff like that. And it's like, man, she would like if she learned about this, she would just go crazy. And so it was just, yeah, I'm like, I wonder if I can help this out somehow.
Yeah, and definitely, seriously, Jesse, you and of course even Geraldine Prado have been such a major help with this project. Really, I can't thank you guys enough for helping out with it. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah. So 2019, um, I think I came in around, I think it was like version 2 something.
yeah, it was
And
version 2.0.
yeah, 2.0. And I remember like there was starting to be a lot of um, there was starting to be some of the extra audio cues, but I remember even then you're like, yeah, I recommend God mode yet because we don't quite have everything figured out. And I remember doing a video and I turned my monitor off and I tried to, I'm like, hey guys, check this out. This is a thing that's in development. It's really, really cool. Can't wait to see where it goes. And I remember beating that first custom level that you did that kind of was started out like the Wolfenstein 3D map.
Yeah, initially, the original first level that I put together was a little bit more like E1M1
Okay.
of Classic Doom, just slightly, but of course a bit tricky to navigate. But after after watching your playthrough of it, that's why I was taking all Sign 3D-esque style levels, and that's when I went back to the drawing board to make that other level that we all see today, and it's level 2 in the Toby map pack.
Right. Yep. Yep. Okay, cool. So, I mean, what was the development process like? Like what kind of things did you kind of encounter, and was there anything really tricky as far as like how you came up with some of the ideas for like ambient audio or beacons or some of the features over time? I mean, just like give us an idea of like just some of the development process and how things were going.
Oh, when I was brainstorming on how to go about doing the accessibility mod itself, the first question that I asked was first, how hard is it to implement accessibility features in a video game?
Hmm.
And then the second question is, when considering accessibility features for a video game, especially for the blind, you have to think about how do actual blind people navigate the real world around them. So obviously, it would be both sound and touch, but in Doom, you only have just sound. So how
Right.
could we convert touch into sound? And that would be the impact detection system right there. And then, of course, having the items emit a beacon sound, that, of course, was the easiest part of the entire project because I already had experience with the Temple of Lisman series and even the Doom Tribute project working with special pickup items and all that. And I was able to use what I've learned with those projects and apply it to the Toby Accessibility Mod with weapons and pickups.
Okay.
And yeah, and that's really the starting point of it. And then after I think when we got to version 3.0 and 3.5, one of those two there,
Hmm.
that's where I think I remember you mentioning about adding in, or even just talking about the beacon sounds in general, because you would hear the beacon sounds even through the walls, so it would actually
Ah,
be a bit of an issue. Yeah.
right. Yep.
So that's where I had to go back to the drawing board and think, how can I make sure that there are beacon sounds for the items, but they'll only emit the beacon sound when the player is in the area. So with that, the pickups actually spawn this fake invisible monster per se, and the monster will react strictly to the side of the player. So if the player's not in sight, it won't emit the sound. So that's
Oh,
essentially what the items do. Yeah.
interesting.
Yep. And it's just like even with the door and switch beacon sounds, it's the same concept. What it is, it's really an invisible monster that only
Huh.
reacts to the player's proximity.
And that's the fascinating part. Like I love hearing stuff like this because you hear the end product or you see the end product and you're like like the Doom engine is like 30 years old now, and it's just amazing that how so many people are able to work within the limitations of the engine, and like that's just a really cool hack. It's like, well, they don't have necessarily features like for navigation, but what if we, yeah, what if we added this invisible monster that would act as an audio cue? That's just really cool. And that's the other thing that like I've been thinking about for a long time. And there have been a couple. There was a few games in like the mid 2010s or so where visually the games would offer some sort of a visual guidance system. So the first ones that I remember were things like Red Faction Guerrilla, Saints Row 3 and 4. They would have like glowy arrows in the environment or on the ground, or even like going back to the Xbox, like the Fable series, the breadcrumb trail.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was, it was like, how can we like that's I love that as a low vision player, but like how do we do that for blind players? Like I said, I was really into Doom. I was really into shooters and action games and Left 4 Dead. And then, like I said, I had a girlfriend for a while who would really have loved to play those games. And I'm like, I couldn't wrap my head around, um, you know, even like a Wolfenstein level. I could kind of have an idea for that, but like, how do you do even a map like Doom to make it traversable by a blind player? Because you have ledges and stairs and different things, and it's so labyrinthian. And just seeing the mod and then having other things come out around that same time, around 2020, The Last of Us Part 2 just broke things wide open, and it was just like, oh, now we're gonna start getting some games for blind players, and it was a really really cool time. Let's see.
I actually remember seeing that, with The Last of Us. I remember Toby actually on his YouTube channel, um, he actually was doing a playthrough of it, and I was
Mm,
actually intrigued to see how that was all done. And yeah, I was actually quite impressed with The Last of Us of all games. I mean,
mm-hmm.
when you consider all these fancy new games, it's like it's hard to actually consider accessibility because the complexity of the game itself kind of gets in the way. Whereas something
Exactly.
like Doom, yeah, with something like Doom, it's much more simple and easy
Mm-hmm.
to work with.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, we didn't even, or at least I didn't, like, I don't think many of us knew that that game was going to have accessibility in it until it was only like a few weeks out, maybe a month or two tops out. And Naughty Dog had just dropped this blog post bomb on us, and it was like, holy crap. I mean, I had played the original on the PS3, and I had a PS or I had a PS4 by that time because I knew I was gonna I want to play the sequel, and I had other games that I liked, and then I'm like, oh god, I've got to play this. And I had just started streaming on Mixer at the time, and like, okay, and I streamed The Last of Us Part 2 on it too, and I was just like, I was just amazingly impressed at like how seamless navigation was. And the worst part about it to me was, as great as this is, now I'm so spoiled and I go to other games, I'm like, God, why don't like all games have text to speech? And if I get lost and can't I overlook that switch or thing I'm supposed to pick up or the door or something, or and I was like, man, now I'm wanting those things in like all games. And thankfully more developers are kind of catching on to it, indie and AAA. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Have you tried playing through the levels yourself with a blindfold or with your monitor off, just to see how it goes?
Yes, I actually did. In fact, I was actually quite impressed with the idea, how you were able to do the testing to see if you're able to play through the level blind simply by turning off the monitor screen. I don't know why I didn't even think of that myself. So I actually got a lot of inspiration from you.
Fair. Well, hey,
But
thanks. Yeah.
yeah, but when I was actually designing the levels for the Toby map pack, um, I actually went back to the ones that I have worked on
Mm-hmm.
and also any of the newer ones. I actually used that technique to make sure that players would be able to navigate the levels. So if
Okay.
I could navigate through it with the monitor screen off, then I know others could do it too.
Gotcha.
And it
Yeah.
was really cool to do that. I mean, it was really an interesting experience and a fascinating one right there.
Absolutely. I mean, even as a low vision player, like I've been playing this game for years, like pretty much since the year it came out, and it is, it is just a whole different experience, even just not playing. I'm so used to playing visually and just, playing with the monitor off or my eyes closed, whatever. It is a totally different experience. And, you know, when I would do the videos myself, one of the other things that I would kind of recommend is, like you said, I like how you were comparing navigating the real world, because what a lot of blind people will do is, especially in an open space, maybe stick to the perimeter. And then if you know that something is in the middle of the room, or, you hear in Doom's case, if you hear an audio beacon, maybe go toward that. But it's like, oh, that way, if I kind of cruise the perimeter, I'm not missing any doors, or I can kind of figure out the layout or the shape of the room. So yeah, that's really cool that you're able to test it that way.
Yeah, and honestly, I was thinking, I remember the discussion I think you mentioned in one of your emails. It'd be interesting to see other like YouTubers or other players do like a speed run or something with the
Oh,
monitor screen off to go from point A to point B completely blind.
I would, yes, and with that kind of leads us right into the reception of the mod. But before I go there, I totally agree with you, and especially when version 6.0 came out, I'm like, you know what? What the hell? I follow a lot of these guys, G-Man, Civ 11, Icarus. And actually, I should, and I didn't even think about it, but I think if he actually saw it, I would absolutely die. I would absolutely get a kick out of if Romero saw it and he would actually try it. I think he would. That would be something he would just uh, really. That would be a really interesting thing to see. And yeah, I agree with you. I want to see, especially, I want to see other blind players play the mod. Absolutely. But I think even watching other sighted players who are not used to playing audio only,
Yeah,
and
that's going to be entertaining.
I want to see more of that. So yeah, if anyone out there does do this or knows of other videos or stream archives that have done this, let us know because yeah, I would be very thoroughly entertained by that. But I'd love to see other blind players catch on to it more, and especially with the 6.0 version, it's made it a lot easier to set up and to get into. And I always tell, I've been telling people this is where you want to, if you haven't done it before, this is where you want to jump into the mod because it's so much easier to get into. What has the reception been like over the different versions and stuff?
It's been pretty positive. I mean, ever since we actually, especially when we did version 4.0, even 5.0, particularly 4.0, I mean, we had a lot of
Mm-hmm.
feedback with that going on. And I do have to admit, when we actually got to version 4.0, that's where evolution really started,
Agreed.
growing with the mod. I mean, that's where we started getting a lot of help, and that's actually where Gerald and Proidilla actually hopped on board. Is when we were in the process of or working on, or this was after the release of 4.0 actually, and working on 5.0. And with Gerald and Proidilla, who have been such such amazing programmers. Honestly, these guys are so awesome. I mean, they are really a godsend with this project. I mean, they are able to work with ZScript, which is something that GZ Doom has nowadays. It's another form of scripting other than Decorate or ACS. And ZScript is a little bit more complicated. I mean, if you're a really good programmer, it should be pretty straightforward. But if you're an amateur at it, it's still kind of like looking at alien language,
Sure. Yep.
you know. But these guys came through with all the really amazing features that you see in the current Toby Accessibility Mod. Really, when we had the version 5.0 release, that's where we really were on point where we needed to be. Gerald introduced, well, he actually helped me first with the compass system. And and then, of course, he helped with the line spawner, which is where you have the beacon sounds for the doors and switches. And
Okay.
when he actually showed me that, honestly, I did a happy dance here. Seriously, I was like geeking out and thinking, this is exactly what we needed. This is one of the big obstacles that we were trying to accomplish. And
Nice.
Gerald came forward with it. And honestly, I was just so happy about it. And Gerald also worked on the stat system, the health ammo stats, and
Oh
also
yeah.
the key check. Yeah,
Okay.
in the key checker system. And then he also helped a little bit even with the map marker. The map markers was a mixture of all of us involved.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but really, Gerald was extremely helpful with the beginning. When we were starting to expand a little bit more on this, and then Predor hopped on board not long after that, and Predor also had a miracle breakthrough with the accessibility mod, and of course that was obviously the accessible menu. And I recall when Predor messaged me about that, he said in his subject, I was running some experiments.
Ah.
So when he showcased what he worked on with the accessible menu, honestly, I was blown away. Perdoa was able to solve one of the biggest problems we've had with the accessibility mod, which is what a lot of people were asking about. Can you
Right.
make the menu accessible?
Mm-hmm.
And Perdoa was able to come through with that breakthrough. And it was, I was also doing a happy dance with that one.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, honestly, and Pro really too has been extremely helpful in in a bunch of the other parts of the mod as well. Of course, he helped with the drop-off detection system, and of course, he helped with the map marker system. He actually polished it up, and seriously, I mean, with all that these guys have done, this project wouldn't be what it is without them. I mean, and of course, even with your help,
Sure.
Jesse, you helped mold this project into what it is, along with everyone else who made some suggestions,
Sure.
including even on, I think it was after the release of version 5.0, a gentleman who left a comment in the comments section of the video named Carl. He suggested the snap turn system for the compass,
Mm,
and then Jared was able to implement that very easily. And then voila, we have
gotcha.
that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I don't remember if it was it 3.5 or 4.0 when the compass system came into play, because that's where I think it really started to become easier to play because, yes, you had the audio sounds, yes, you had the, some of the audio beacons and cues and everything, but in some of like the first couple videos that I remember doing for the mod, I remember still getting really turned around. I'm like, I don't remember what room I'm in, and being able to know, okay, I am heading north, I'm heading south, whatever. That really did help, along with the audio cues. Just as long as you could keep a mental map of where you were going, and then even like the audio beacons, even when I think were they when you were in the stream that I did like early last year, I don't think the beacons were in yet.
Yeah, I think that was version 4.0 that you were probably working with at that time.
Okay,
Of course,
so
that's when we had the compass system implemented,
okay, so
the
the be
basic
and
compass system.
or yeah, or the and then the markers, those were in like five, I think, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I think when I had streamed it, I don't think the markers were in because I remember even during the stream, I remember getting lost a few times, and
Yeah, that's where I actually started taking notes, saying, maybe we should do a map marker system.
yeah, and like even just playing with it in version 5 and especially version 6, between the compass, because like when people would even comment on my videos, it was, well, I love this, but I get so lost so easily. And, especially if people played other audio games or something like The Last of Us, they wanted something like here's the line to follow to get to the blue key or the yellow key or the red door. But it's like Doom doesn't really work like that. It's like you kind of, even visually, you go into a level not knowing anything, and it's like you just kind of have to explore and make a mental map. Now, granted, visually you can hit, like tab and bring up a map that can be helpful, but like, yeah, I think between the compass and the marker system, I think I really, really hope and I really encourage other blind players to try the updated version because it's just so much more playable, I think.
Indeed. I mean, yeah, I know Doom is just, and everyone knows that it is just really a maze. You have to
Oh
kind
yeah.
of feel your way around. But of course, one thing I actually was just thinking about right now is maybe, well, actually, it was two things. One I actually wrote down a while ago, and that one was actually another hotkey that tells you what map you're on. So
Mm,
I might actually consider that for another installment.
okay.
But the idea that just came to me right now is a hotkey that would, I guess, in some way amplify the beacon sounds of, let's say, like the keys or the key doors or something like that. So it acts almost like objective points in some way, but it's just an
Oh.
idea.
Hmm.
But the thing is, I don't want the players to be inundated with a whole lot of sounds going on.
Well, right. There
Yeah.
have been other audio games where you can turn certain features on and off, and I want to say I think it was Swamp that did, like, it had its own little custom or a compass system, and you could turn it on and off at will, like, and it would, it's been so long since I've played Swamp, but like there was it would it'd have kind of audio cues as you were walking, and then you would kind of be able to hear sort of what you're talking about. I think it was Swamp that did that. But like you said, the other tricky part is that even if you have some sort of a louder beacon for the keys or doors, does that go through walls? And then it's like, well, the sound says it's over here, but I thunk into a wall. And that's the thing about being a maze or a labyrinth.
Yeah. In essence, I was actually thinking it would almost act almost like a sonar or something,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just triggers the sound and says that you're close to a key or something. But yeah, the thing is with Doom, you have walls in the way, so it would actually, as much as it would be an interesting idea, it would cause more confusion. That's what the thing is, and that's actually part of the process when considering the accessibility features.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think: is it going to be actually helpful, or is it going to do more harm than good? So the thing is,
Absolutely.
you don't want the players to be in a position where they're confused. I mean, it's just like I think it was with version 2.0 and 3.0, maybe 2.0 really, where the beacon sounds for the items, you could still hear them even when they're on the opposite side of the wall,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So I had to resolve that issue in order to avoid confusion because the player would just be walking into the wall, not knowing that the item is just right on the other side of it. So they're
Yep.
just continuously walking into a wall. So when considering accessibility features, we have to consider also, you know, if it were to be executed the right way, is it going to do what it should be doing, or is it going to actually cause more trouble? So, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing, when I get suggestions from people, there's some things in which we could do, and
Yep.
other things in which I understand where they're coming from, but it would not be feasible in the sense
Right.
that it may cause
Absolutely.
more trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that is the tricky part too. Absolutely. And where, especially if you really only have, as you said earlier, blind players would use haptics or they would use audio. And in the Doom mod's case, you really only have audio, and you sometimes it's just as important as what is not happening as what is happening, because it's like if you overload the person with too many audio cues at once, or if they sound too similar, or if one gets overpowered by the other, you have to convey all of this stuff in a way that makes sense. And in this case, you're doing everything by audio. Like I could see where like a more modern game, you could maybe offset some of that to haptics. Like in a racing game, as you get closer to the side of the road, you might feel the vibration get stronger to be like, hey, you're getting kind of close, or even
Oh
like a
yeah,
ledge detection
with the
system.
yeah with the controllers, right? They have like a little motor in them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually just thinking of something interesting. I actually received an email from a blind gamer. I think it was earlier in the week, last week. His name's David, and he's a nice gentleman and all.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he was very much excited about version 6.0, but he also was asking if the if it could be played with a controller. Now, technically,
Mm.
GZ Doom, Z Doom in general, it could be played with a controller, but I don't have anything set up for it. And of course, I don't have a controller or joystick on hand to even do that. But it did give me an idea that maybe I could look further into it. But the thing is, I'm not sure if there would be any vibration of the controller that would um, give any feedback, especially through Doom. Of course, I wouldn't know how to go about that,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, the thing is I know, I mean, Doom is ported to everything, as we all know.
Yeah.
And, there have been really good ports of it for like the Xbox Live Arcade, and it's on the Switch now and everything. So the nice thing about Doom is that there aren't many keys. You basically move, you aim, you shoot, and you interact. I mean, that's really it. And so the nice thing about even if you were using like an Xbox controller, the cool thing is I think you could even add a lot of these shortcuts, or and then to switch weapons, I suppose too. But like those are the only things that Doom really needs for controls. And so as many buttons as that are on like an Xbox controller, you might be able to actually map some of these accessibility shortcuts. You could map a lot. I could picture like the statuses, like your health and ammo. You could hit, up on the on the D-pad for health and down for ammo, left for something else, right for something else. And then if you needed like you could have certain, maybe the bumpers for snap turning your compass directions 90 degrees. Like yeah, I can already picture how I would even make a controller map about that. So I think it could be doable.
Yeah. I mean, if id Software were to hop on board this, then it certainly
No
would be
kidding.
very possible.
Oh, absolutely. And I remember I saw in your video and even on my video, another person had asked, they're like, and that's what we have, you kind of take for granted or forget is, one guy was asking, it's like, hey, I play with the keyboard. I never use the mouse, and this is weird to me. I remember when I played Doom originally back in the day, I was keyboard only, man, control to shoot and arrowing and it
Same
was,
here.
yep. And so do you know how long it took me to really force myself to learn mouse aim? I remember playing Quake 3. I was so weird that I found this adapter and I had mapped all the controls, and I was actually playing for a little while. I was playing Quake 3 Arena with a N64 controller, and yeah, that happened. But I mean, once I learned the mouse stuff, the mouse look and everything, I can't go back. Like it's just even using a controller feels weird to me in a shooter. But
Yeah.
like the nice thing about Doom is it's all on one plane, so you don't you kind of you can eliminate the vertical look. Because even new sighted players, one of the first that's one of the things they have trouble with is I can't move or aim at the same time, and I'm looking down at the floor, up at the ceiling. Um, but that's the nice thing about the simplicity of Doom.
Yeah. I mean, of course, even for myself, I've always played Doom with just the keyboard,
Mm.
and I got into the mouse being part of it mainly because there's a key on my keyboard that's a bit broken, so I'm forced to use the mouse with the keyboard. But I do find that, and of course, I know which comment you're talking about
Mm-hmm.
on the video, um, and I know that they wanted to use the keyboard solely,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, I did recommend that, especially for a blind player, it would be a lot easier to just use the mouse and keyboard for the time being because it would be a lot easier to aim the weapon.
Yeah,
It'd be
it's
less
so much more
frustrating.
fluid to get
Yeah,
that lock on. Absolutely.
yeah. Even though I personally am able to play Doom with just the keyboard, but the thing is that when I use the keyboard, my left hand is already at the ready with the shift and the alt, and of course
Right.
the control. So whenever I need to turn in a certain way, it's in combination with the alt and the arrow keys.
Yeah, and that's it. Like when I remember when I played back in the day, like I would strafe somewhat, but that was defaulted arrow keys to turn and everything, and I was never all that really great at strafing with the alt, and so I'm sure I could go back and learn how to play with the keyboard only again. But like I said, now I've played with the keyboard and mouse for many years now, and I'm like, I can't go back. It's so much more fluid.
And I mean, even with a lot of the Doom mods that are out today, I mean, there's so much more complicated and more complex that you need the vertical aim now. And
Yep,
yeah, of course, even though I still play with auto aim involved because I'm still pretty traditional when it comes down to Doom, but
yep, sure.
with so much verticality with the Doom levels that they're out right now, um, yeah, you're gonna have to use the mouse a little bit more often.
Definitely, definitely. And this question just popped into my mind, but is the Toby Accessibility Mod, like I know is totally its own thing, and I would have a feeling that it would conflict with other Doom mods or like map packs, but like, because you have to add extra audio cues for doors and switches and things like that has to manually be with that monster trick you were talking about, correct?
Well, actually, the good news is that people would be able to play the Toby Accessibility Mod with custom levels, even outside my own Toby map pack. I mean, you could even do this with classic Doom now. When Gerald put together the Alliance spawner system, what it is an event handler. It scans the Doom level for action line defs, such as doors and switches, and then just places the beacon right
Oh,
there.
so you don't have to, so you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
manually add for every door and switch. That's awesome.
Yeah. Of course, initially, like in version 3.0, that I had to do manual.
Right.
But after
Okay.
4.0, um,
Oh,
that's
that.
where Jerbo was able to put together that amazing line spawner system, and the rest is history. I mean, with that, it's like it made things so much more easier.
That's actually really fascinating that you say that or that you cleared that up because I was still for some reason, I was still kind of under the assumption that like vanilla Doom levels, it had that limitation. So like I haven't even really, I think since version 3 or 4, I don't think I've gone back to try like regular Doom levels. I know you have that shortcut for play classic Doom. And if the switches in classic Doom levels work now, I'm gonna have to try that just out of sheer curiosity. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I mean that's a great thing now with the Toby Accessibility Mod is that now people are able to play the original Doom 1 and Doom 2 levels.
Oh, that is
Granted
so
that
good.
not every single level would be workable.
Oh,
Like
for
if you were to play,
sure.
yeah, I mean, if you were to play, let's say, like E3M2 of Ultimate Doom,
Mm.
Slough of Despair, that level is so awkwardly shaped that a player is going to get stuck in those little nooks and crannies of the level.
Yep, yep. I'm just thinking of the nightmare. Like I said, my nemesis is I believe it's what is it, the pit, the chasm or whatever. Ugh.
Oh yes, Map 24 of
Oh
Doom 2, the
dear
Chasm.
God in heaven, I hate that level.
The good news is, though, is that the drop-off detection system would greatly help with it. I mean, that's
Oh
where I
yeah.
actually did, yeah, that's where I actually did test the drop-off detection system is that level because of so many drop-offs in it.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking, I mean, even visually, how narrow some of those are. I mean, you're literally like a pixel or two wide.
Yeah, I mean, the catwalks in that level is that's why I think I remember watching a video of Sandy Peterson talking about the levels he did and that level in particular, the chasm that he did.
Hmm.
That certainly a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with it, a little more on
Yeah.
the hate side.
Oh yeah,
But
that would be one
yeah,
where, with another new feature that you haven't mentioned yet is the little cheat codes that are available. I might just hit that level 9 when I get, or I might hit that key 9 when I get to that level.
yeah, of course, yeah, with the cheat code hotkeys, the idea actually came up from Carl, the one who recommended the snap turn system. He
Mm.
mentioned about a audio feedback when the players put in a cheat code or something.
Oh yeah.
So, so I remember having that conversation with Pridoa. He actually said he saw that comment as well and said that it is very possible. But then I was actually thinking, you know, when a blind player would like to type in the cheat code,
Hmm.
I mean, there's no guarantee that it would go through the first time around. Sometimes you may miss the key, right?
Hmm.
So what I wanted to do is make it easier for a blind person to actually put in like IDDQD. So
Right, yeah, because you can
I
still use those.
yeah. So even though a blind player could in fact open the console and type in IDDQD or God mode or even just God,
Yeah,
um,
IDKFA.
yeah, or any of those other
Hmm.
codes. The thing is, I don't know if there would be a possibility to have audio feedback while the console's active. Although I think it is possible, but it'd be a lot easier if just the blind player just had a push of a button and then boom, it's right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mapped the number pad 5 as to activate or deactivate God mode, and 7 to act as IDKFA, and then 9 being the level changer.
Okay.
So I figured, let's make it as easy as possible for a blind player to activate the codes. And these codes in particular would be the most commonly used, and that's kind of what Toby was kind of
Right.
using, even though he
Yep.
also used ghost mode. But I feel like with that, it may make things more complicated for a blind player
Oh, well,
because,
absolutely. And the
yeah,
reason he would use the ghost is because he couldn't navigate the level himself. But now that you
yeah.
can,
Hmm.
exactly, yeah. One thing I actually just thought of now, and I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier, I wonder if it would also be a good idea to maybe map it to maybe a couple of the keys on the right side of the QWERTY keyboard, maybe like I, O, and P or something, because if people are playing on a, let's say, a laptop and they don't have a number pad.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that actually is a very good point you brought up there, Jesse.
I
Good
just thought of
point.
that right now, literally. I don't know why I didn't think of that until now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what we can do is in the next release when we get all the feedback from people, so we can
Hmm.
smooth things out a little bit more. I'll remap the hotkeys for the cheats to probably I, O, and P,
Yeah, and you could always
something
still
like
leave
that.
them. You could still leave them, but both the number pad or those keys on the keyboard could do it.
Yeah, I'll see if I could maybe map maybe the F keys. That'll probably be a good option too there because with what I usually do when I map my keys, usually O and P is to um, toggle between inventory items. So
Oh,
when
okay.
when we get to working on Heretic, and that is the next order of business with this project, we're going to
Oh,
try and make Heretic accessible, which is very possible.
oh, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, you've heard it here first, guys. I didn't even know that was coming. That's cool.
Yeah, Perdoa actually was talking to me a while ago about that. He actually put together a compatibility patch for Heretic.
Huh.
So that was kind of the green light to, okay, we're going to do it. you know,
Yeah, and we won't even go to Hexen because I can't figure that damn game out even visually. Once you start getting to those hubs, I think I beat the first hub pretty well, and then I get to the second hub and things just go downhill from there. When you have to go back
yeah,
and forth between that even just kind of breaks my brain playing those visually.
Yeah, Hexen, that one I've been debating about because with Hexen, we could essentially do accessibility for it,
Hmm.
but people would much prefer to play the custom levels for it instead of the original levels.
Well, yeah, because and like I said, you're not going from. I mean, that would be people get confused going through one level, but like I said, with once you get past level one, you've got this hub, and you're going in and out of each of these actual level portals,
Yeah,
and oof, I can't even imagine trying to play that blind. It
yeah. I
maybe could be
mean,
done, but oh boy, be a
yeah. I mean, with
challenge.
Hexen, um, yeah, because of the hub system, it would definitely drive anybody a little bit on the crazy side. I mean, when I was actually playing through Hexen, I mean, I was thinking that they could have simplified the gameplay a lot more if they were to not have so many different places for the player to go. As in, like with the first hub, it was like 7 portals to go through. I mean,
Yeah,
they
at
could have cut
least.
that down to they could have cut it down to maybe 3. You
Hmm.
know, because you have 3 different themes going on. You have like an ice theme, a fire theme, and a metal theme.
Yep, yep.
So they could have just kept it at that. You know, and and even with the drop offs, I mean, far too many in Hex, and let's just be real with that.
Yeah, I'm
and
thinking of that one in the first hub where you're in the ice room, and then you go in the one area, the cave or whatever, and then the whole thing just kind of cracks, and
yeah,
that would
yeah,
be tricky.
yeah, especially with the falling damage that was incorporated into Hex, and
Mm-hmm.
that really made things a little bit more complicated there.
Yep.
But with everything else with Hexen, I mean, with the player class system, the weapons, the enemies, I mean,
Yeah.
if I were to do like a Toby map pack for Hexen, let's say, it would definitely be possible.
Sure.
Obviously, I wouldn't be throwing the crazy tricks and traps that Hexen has in there,
Right.
obviously, but it would just be set up how Doom would be, as in the same concept, going from point A to point B, just with the dark
Yeah.
fantasy theme.
But yeah, I mean, Heretic alone, like you said, adding the inventory thing, that's actually really cool because, yeah, now you have consumable and usable items.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was actually even
Cool.
debating with Heretic um, if I should continue to have an inventory system or just create the items just like if they were in Doom, as in that you pick them up when you need them. I
I
was actually
think
debating about that.
I think that actually using the inventory would be kind of cool because that was one of the nice things is, there are certain items that you strategically hang on to. You get the health vials or you get the, like your explosives and stuff, especially if you're playing on a harder difficulty. That I think ends up being a lot of the strategies when you use those types of things for the
Yeah,
combat.
the cash and carry system, it was actually, one of the really cool features of Heretic.
Mm-hmm.
It actually gave players a little more of to use the items in a strategic way, as you mentioned. So
Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, I think I'm sure that Prado would definitely be up to the task with that. I know they'd definitely
Nice.
be able to come up with a brilliant idea with the inventory system.
Ah, I love it. Just opening up so many classics to new people. That
Hmm.
is so good. And
Yeah.
even and like I said, I know it's a totally different engine and everything. That's the problem. But like, I know they've even put levels. Like I said, I sent you that video the other day. You mentioned like Duke Nukem and that, like being able to
Oh
play like Hollywood
yes.
Holocaust and LA Meltdown. Like the first two levels of Duke are like so good. The realistic settings and that blew my and the interactivity just blew my mind back in the day.
Oh yeah. I mean, with of course with the video that you showed me, that was actually just a regular Doom mod with the
Yeah, it
Duke
was.
Nukem
Yeah,
weapon mod added on.
yeah,
But yeah, but with the build engine in general, I can safely say that it is very much possible. I mean, the build engine in essence was always like a Doom version 2.0.
hmm
It pretty much looked and felt like Doom, just with a few alterations here and there. It was able to do a lot more with the levels and the scripting. And of course, my buddy Al Chestbreach gave me a book about how to make build engine levels. So
Ah,
yeah, and of course he's a big fan of Duke Nukem 3D, and he's mainly working with the Fallout games like Fallout New Vegas or Fallout
okay.
4, and definitely he and I go way back. He's been a good friend of mine ever since we were in elementary school together, and of course he's also one of my funniest friends. So if anyone wants to get a good chuckle, wants to have a good laugh, wants to have someone brighten their day, Al Chestbreach is the man to go to.
There you
He's an
go.
awesome guy. And of course, he did the demonstration video of version 5.0, if you remember.
Oh, okay, that guy. Yeah, yeah, cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
so he gave me that book on how to work with the build engine. So I should be able to take a little bit of a closer look on how to do that. But it would also be cool to get even people from the Duke Nukem community in on this project as well. So it would be
Sure.
a so instead of being Toby Doom, it would be Toby Duke.
There you go. Yeah. Why? Hey, why not? Why not? I'd be down. Like I
Yeah.
said, yeah. I mean, it just like I said, the first two levels. Like I love the more realistic levels. I didn't care for this episode two as much in space. But like I said, the first two levels, even the third one in the prison. The mountain level I didn't care so much for, but like, where you're in like build actual city buildings and stuff, I really enjoy those.
Yeah. And but of course we also know that with Duke Nukem 3D in particular and all the other build
hmm
games, there's a lot of verticality to it. So
Yes.
with the accessibility features that would be put together, which we put just like what I had to do with the accessibility mod for Doom. I had to make a map pack for it.
Right.
So what I could try and do is do the same strategy, just
Right. You kind of flattened them out a little bit. You
create
would still have a little bit of
Duke
elevation,
Nukem
but not as
3D
much.
levels precisely,
Yeah.
precisely. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Cool. And I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but like, especially with any of the latest versions, has Toby checked in with you? Like, have you heard from Toby lately to see what he has see like with especially with later versions of the mod now has gotten so good. Um, have you gotten any recent thoughts from him at all?
Yes, I actually, when I reached out to him when we released version 5.0, he did actually respond to me, and have that email with me right here.
Okay.
Hang on just a second. Oh, right here in front of me. Nope, put that in it. Actually, here it is. There we go. Have everything at the ready. Yeah, so yeah, when I reached out to Toby, he got back to me last June 2022. Um, so he said, "Hi, Alan. Great to hear from you. I've recently played the updated Doom mod and absolutely loved everything about it. The talking menu and the way the levels are and everything works so well. Thank you so much for everything, mate. You've done an absolutely amazing job."
I agree 100%. Agree 100%. Absolutely. That is cool.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just been such a pleasure to do this project. I mean, it's really, I honestly, I had the wonderful opportunity to get to know Toby and also even working with Burke
Hmm.
and then teaming up with you, Gerald, Proidella, and everyone else who's been part of this project. I mean, it's been just an amazing experience and one heck of a journey.
Definitely. Is there anything that we haven't covered regarding the mod or anything like that? It's cool. We even went into some stuff that, like I said, some couple cool surprise unveils here today. Is there anything that we kind of left out or that you want to kind of mention about the mod?
Um, I don't know. I think we kind of covered all that we needed to.
Okay.
Um, I mean, if anybody has any suggestions or ideas or any feedback, I mean, feel free to let any one of us know, you know.
Definitely. Absolutely. Yep. Did you want to quick plug anything else? I know that you talked about some of your other mods, and I know you write some books too.
Yes. Yeah, so for those who may or may not know, I am an author as well. I have published 4 books already, and I'm working on a 5th one. And I have books right here with me. Uh, so book number 1 is Adventures of the PPA Invasion. This is my very first book that I published, and I had a lot of fun putting this together. This took me 12 years to put together. So I started this when I was actually in high school
Yeah.
and published it in 2017.
I can
And
definitely sympathize with that. I've always thought that it would be cool to write a book, and I want to write a book one day, and I've even kind of made like a rough sort of outline. I kind of want to do like a almost a part memoir biography, but like a history of assistive technology and break it down by different things. But who knows? I'm gonna have time to find that. So I totally get your 12-year process thing. I totally can identify with that.
yeah, I mean, starting a book is kind of a it's one heck of a feat to go on. But when you get your first book out of the way, everything else comes easy.
Yep.
I mean, it's really more of you have to feel your way around a little bit, and the best way to go about it, after you're and of course, based on what I've learned from my experience with writing, is if you want to write a book, the best way to brainstorm is to just write down what do you want in that book. Divide it up into different topics,
Yep.
especially with your particular case. Um, you have topic 1, write down some ideas about it and and what direction you want to go with it. And you have topic 2 and write down some ideas about that and what direction you want to go with it, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
Then and then, of course, all you really need, and this is the same process when I do my Doom levels and other WADs, is that you need to be motivated and you also need to let your imagination work with you and for you.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, and I recently just started a series because I keep getting so many questions on YouTube and social media and even email from time to time. And there's just been like, topics that I've touched on in channel update videos and such. And so I started this Growing Up Illegally Cited series not terribly long ago. And it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's mirroring, but it's sort of along the similar lines of kind of what I would like to do with a book. But so it's kind of like, well, maybe one day if I ever find time. But yeah, no, that's really cool that you're doing the mods and writing. And yeah, I've started book one, and I haven't finished it yet, admittedly, because I am like ADD, just 20 different things pulling me in different directions, and I've got such big piles of shame for books and games and movies and just so much stuff I want to do. There's no time for
Yeah,
it all.
yeah. But I mean, with reading in general, I mean, it's like you just have to set time aside for it, and it's really just organizing,
Oh,
just
absolutely.
organizing a schedule. Yeah,
I love to read. I read constantly, so yep.
yeah, definitely. You'll get a kick out of the book,
Yeah,
and
I get a kick out of it so far. Like I said, I'm decent way into the first book. Yeah,
yeah, and it's gonna get better.
excellent. Glad to hear.
And then of
Yeah, looking
course,
forward to it.
I have my second novel, and of course I do just want to mention I actually redid the second cover for the novel. It actually looks better now, so for anyone who wants to check it out, it looks significantly better.
Okay.
And then I have my third book right here, which I also did a little tweak to the cover, but it's fairly the same. And this one is actually a very fun one too. And
Cool.
then lastly, I have my fourth book, which I had a lot of fun working with a 3D program doing the cover. And of course, I do want to give a thank you and shout out to one of my fellow Doom Space Marines out there, Janice 3003, who actually introduced me to the program DAZ 3D.
Hmm.
And I really have, I had a lot of fun working with that 3D program. It's really great. So the fourth book, which also actually introduces the Temple of the Lizardmen series. So this actually does relate to my
Oh,
Temple of
okay.
Lizardmen wads.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And then my fifth one that I'm working on right now is, in fact, the Temple of Lizardmen, the novel.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I went from Doom Wad to now it's a book.
Yeah, that's cool. And I will mention out there, if anyone, especially accessibility wise, if you want to pick up the Kindle editions, I will say, I think I picked up the first three, and I did check on the website. You go under the book details and make sure that text to speech and screen reader support works. And yeah, I'm reading the Kindle books. So if you want to get them digitally in an accessible format, you can.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention, or did you have any questions for me at all before we wrap up? And then I'll let you plug where we can find and contact you, and then I think we'll call it.
Yeah, I guess there's one more thing. I do have another Doom one that's coming out very soon. It's called the Alpha Division, and it's a gameplay mod where you have 7 player classes to choose from, and each one has
Ooh,
their own weapon set, their own active and passive abilities. And it's primarily designed for more co-op, but it can still be used for single player as well. And I think a lot of people are going to find it very fun.
I'm intrigued for sure. Yeah, that sounds cool. I always like when you have different like character classes and different things that you can try like that. Very good. Very good. Yeah, any questions at all for me at all or
Um, I don't think I do, but I guess
okay.
the only question I would have is, uh, when are you going to be doing a live stream of the playthrough? I was
Oh,
wondering when you may do
well,
that.
yeah. It's really hard to say, and I really probably should again. I kind of have taken because I've gotten so busy with, work and I've been doing some other like accessibility consulting stuff lately. Around middle of last year, I was just doing so many things and I just eventually something had to give. And so I haven't really been streaming much since then. And last year, I was still kind of in the process of like enough games were coming out to the point where it's like I need to update my gaming rig, and I finally have that done now as of like January, February, early this year. Um, I've thought about streaming again. You know, I haven't officially retired it, but if I do get into it, I might even do like a special. You know, even if I don't stream regularly going forward, yeah, I really should do another stream of 6.0 because yeah, I think playing with the compass and the markers and stuff, I will definitely let you know when I can do that again.
Yeah, because the last time I was on the stream with you, I had a fun time.
Oh, it
It
was a
was really
blast.
cool.
No, it was really cool. We
Yeah.
had a pretty good crowd in there, and it was really cool just getting like your feedback and ideas and stuff. That was yeah, that was really cool. So yeah, I will definitely let you know when we do that again because even if I don't just do streams regularly, I think we can make an exception and crank up a Doom stream again. That is assuming my OBS decides to behave itself because it's been a little bit cantankerous lately.
Mm.
So we'll see. But yeah, no, that's good to hear. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
And yeah, so I would say where can we, if people want to see your stuff, maybe contact you and give kind of where we can find you online and such.
Yeah. Of course, the most notable place being my YouTube channel, MrAlanD1. That'd be MrAlanD and the number one.
And I will put a link in the description below for that as well.
And people could also find me on zdoom.org in the forums. You could hop on and message in the Toby Accessibility Mod Zdoom thread, or you could private message me. Also, you could contact me through Doom World, although it's not really the best way to contact me because Doom World doesn't let me know of anything,
Sure. Yep.
unfortunately.
Yep.
But Zdoom does.
Okay.
And if people want to, they could send me an email that they could easily get through YouTube. I
Sure.
mean, it should be there.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, I think that will wrap it up then. I don't think I have any other questions that I can think of at the moment. So, assuming I'm really, really hoping this recorded correctly, and yeah, I think we will wrap it up here. Thanks again for doing this video, for doing this interview, because like I said, I think it's just a really fun. I've always wanted to have a live conversation with you, just talking about the mod and all
Yeah,
this. It's
it's
just really
it's
cool.
yeah, it's definitely. I really enjoyed this too. I mean, this certainly was awesome, and it's
Yeah.
definitely been a pleasure, Jesse.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. And like I said, on behalf of everybody, especially all the blind and visually impaired players out there, thanks to you and your team for again just Doomed is the game that just never keeps giving because it's still as awesome as it was in 1993, and now a whole group of people can play it. It's just awesome. So yeah, thank you from everybody. And with that, we will wrap it up here. Um, Definitely try the mod for yourself. It is version 6.0. I will put a link in the description below, you know, to his channel and where to get the mod, that kind of a thing. And you know, there's an audio manual for it as well. So it's like it's really a good time to get into it. But yeah, thanks for watching. Share the video. Try the mod. Um, you can follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally cited, illegallycited.com, and of course, right here on YouTube. So until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.